Hey everybody, it's Evan on Arcade, and oh my WAWD, it's another episode. Joining me today again, as always, it's Jason Patrick. What's up, Jason?
Hey man, how you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm excited for today's topic.
Cool, that makes one of us. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's a good ad lib there. No, I think it'll be fun, and I know it might not seem as strong, but I've had this idea for a minute. But basically, I wanted to talk about. We have in the past touched on guilty pleasures, and I think, especially on our morning show, we try to implement that as a thing that we recently just kind of just like let go of it because it didn't really feel natural to be in that. But in doing so, it just made me think, like, what are guilty pleasures that we have throughout? You know, it could be about anything really, eating habits and just little different ticks. But most importantly, I think just to relate it to films, especially because there's a lot of films that I have that are my guilty pleasures that might not be like amazing films. You know, there might be some of the shittiest films that people consider to be bad. And paired up with the fact that what are films that are good that we just never managed to finish for one reason or another. It might be because, you know, you find it boring, or you just, something came up and it didn't really get your attention enough for you to come back to. And maybe you did, but for the most part, I've had a couple movies where I never came back to, and some that I revisited maybe like a year later. So hopefully you can relate to some of this stuff as well.
Yeah, there's some stuff that comes to mind for that last part you said. So yeah, I definitely will have some stuff. Actually, when I was compiling, like doing research for the episode and the guilty pleasure part, I have plenty to talk about there because I like a lot of shitty things that most of it I'm not like, I don't feel too overly guilty about, but I definitely have things to get into.
I was going to say, because you're so into horror, there's definitely a lot of films in that.
That's why I don't watch. I mean, as much as like, I do like horror, I avoid a lot of it because I know most of it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Especially like, modern horror. But I guess I'm like speaking out of line there because there's a lot of stuff I don't avoid. I mean, I avoid purposely.
Yeah.
So, but that's movies in general. Like I try not to. If something doesn't look good, I'm not going to spend my time watching it. Like I try to watch stuff that's good.
Yeah. That's the thing, really. But I mean, there's always going to be stuff that we find interesting that you kind of were like, whoa, nobody really liked this movie. I love it.
Yeah.
But before we dig in right away, I just want to mention that we are on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. If you guys are listening, have been listening, if you enjoyed it so far, please go on iTunes and give us a rating. Any little thing like that helps boost up the podcast. Even if a review, that'd be great. Even if, I don't know if you could just do one-word reviews. I don't think it allows you to, but say whatever. It'd be awesome to have some reviews on there to pop up. Definitely for sure. Don't forget, you could also follow us on Instagram at ohmywad, right?
Yep.
And, we also have an email account. It's ohmywad@gmail. So feel free to hit us up there. And if you guys have any ideas or topics that you think
complaints,
I didn't say it this time. I was being mindful about it. But yeah, if you guys have any, if you've been listening to the podcast and you kind of get a feel of what we're talking about, and you have some ideas in terms of like, you guys should talk about this, or I'm always curious about this, let us know. We might be interested in talking about it. It might be something that we already thought about that we want to push up on our schedule in terms of what we want to release. So feel free to do that, right? I mean,
yeah, we're like compiling a topic list, just to kind of have a plan for the next month or so. We've been recording pretty frequently. So yeah, if there's anything that you guys would like to hear us talk about, just give us suggestions and we'll see if we're as excited about it as you are. So,
we're not necessarily saying we're going to do it, but I mean, there might be something that's really good that we decide to go with. And obviously, we give credit where it is due. All right, without further ado, though, let's jump into it. Guilty pleasures. And I mean, we could bounce back and forth between stuff that we did,
sure,
we really like. But I'm gonna just jump into it right now. A film that people, I don't know if people hate it. My mom loves it. I somehow love it. but it was panned. It was like 13% Rotten Tomatoes.
Mhm.
Couples Retreat, which
Okay.
is which is a Vince Vaughn comedy film with Jon Favreau, um, Jason Bateman, a lot of like pretty popular actors,
Mhm.
popular comedy
Is
actors.
it Cedric the Entertainer in that, or is that,
No, no, it's
or Bertie Mac?
no, 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 no. It's Faison Love. I think that's how you say his name. He's a really
Uh-huh.
big guy.
Okay.
He he was also in
Okay.
he was in Made with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
Oh yeah. Okay. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's in it. Kristen, the one from The Good Place. You know what
Sure.
I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking about, right?
No. The
Forgetting
Good
Sarah
Place, what is
Marshall.
that? Is that the
Forgetting
show
Sarah.
on is
Yeah,
that the
it was
show
the
on
show.
CBS?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kristen, what's her name? Wow, I can't believe I can't remember her name. Actually, there's two Kristens in that movie. Kristen Scott or Kristen? I don't know. They're very famous.
Uh-huh.
Um, my mom loves that movie too. Partially why I got it on iTunes is because I knew she would like it, but I ended up
Okay.
watching it. There was a time where I was like watching it almost every day. It was it's a pretty bad movie. It's just about a bunch of people who get together. I mean, they're married couples,
Mhm.
and one of them, which is Bateman and Kristen, I don't know her name. Um, they're considering getting a divorce, but they don't want to do that, so they say we're going to go on a retreat. But in order for them to get a good deal on it, they have to bring more people. And so they
Mhm.
actually con everybody else to go in there to go to this place, and it's amazing. It's like in those places where they have it's a resort where it has like like the rooms are like floating or suspended over water,
Okay.
and I mean I think partially the reason why I like it is because of that. It just looks beautiful everything they do there. But I mean it's Vince Vaughn. I watch Vince Vaughn in almost anything. Same thing with Jon Favreau. I love them. And
Mhm.
but it's a horrible movie. It's just bad, all around. Fucking, the writing's bad. So we talked about this guy before. He's the guy who directed it, and I forgot his name again. It's Billingsley. He was the guy who played Ralphie. He directed that movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Damn, I can't remember his name. He's
You
directed.
like knew his name. I didn't know it.
Uh, you know
This
what?
came up on our morning show this past week.
But that's to give you a good idea of what like, that movie was pretty bad. I like it. Everyone, a
Okay.
lot of people hate it, but yeah.
All
All right,
right.
let's go with you.
Yes, I mean, I'll start off with, and I have a lot to choose from here. But I guess since you mentioned like the horror thing, the fact that I like horror movies so much, for me growing up, the Halloween franchise, and obviously
Mhm.
not the original. Like I didn't really grow up on the original Carpenter film from '78. I was big fans of part 4 and 5, which I guess are like cult favorites for people who like horror films. Those are the two with the little girl in it, Jamie.
Mhm.
Uh, they're not good movies though. Like I've revisited. I watch them pretty regularly. Like I either watch one or like 4 or 5, probably every year or like every other year.
Yeah.
And they're not really good. They're just like just a slasher movie. But I've always like gravitated towards Michael Myers, and I think they're called Halloween, so they do such a good job like just like centering it around Halloween and like just giving me the feel like, oh, it's October, it's the
Right.
fall.
Right.
Uh, so I like them, but they're definitely not good movies.
I will say that I don't think I've ever seen all of them,
Uh-huh.
or maybe I might have seen them in passing. And this is like one of those things where it's like going to films we never finished. They're just
Uh-huh.
like so bad that I never really finished all of them. I think that happens more with the Jason franchise, which is Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those that I could never finish. Just like this is just fucking terrible. Like it's bad. That's not even I mean, it's campy, but it's just beyond me for me to be able to finish them. But I did finally last year see. I think it was is Halloween 2, the season of the witch, or that's 3. That's
That's
3,
part
right?
3.
Yeah, I actually really like that one.
Yeah, that one was kind of like when I was a kid, I'm like, this is the one I don't want to see
Yeah,
because it doesn't have Michael Myers in
right. It
it.
doesn't have Michael. Yeah,
So I guess like the original idea, or like when Carpenter made Halloween, he had wanted
to do
he,
different stories, right?
different stories. Yeah, he basically wanted to do different stories centered around Halloween. I'm kind of getting it mixed up because I know I think Bob Clark, who did Black Christmas, which actually
Mhm.
predates Halloween and does the same like POV. Great movie. I didn't appreciate it the first time I saw it, but he wanted to do like movies centered around different holidays, horror
Oh, cool.
movies.
Oh, that sounds
Which
awesome, actually.
which we've had a few. We've had Valentine's
Right, right.
Day. We've
At
had
this point now,
Thanksgiving.
we do, yeah.
April Fool's Day.
Hmm.
Uh, but no, yeah, Season of the Witch it's become a cult favorite. I think it's a really really good,
It's a
uh,
solid horror film, I think,
solid horror film.
in
Really good
terms of the
soundtrack.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't know about it too is because I was I've done some work with Mondo Tees and Mondo guys that they
Hmm.
do a lot of horror. I mean, not horror. They do a lot of pop culture merchandise stuff, and they were they were working on a new mug, tiki mug, and I said we're doing a Halloween one, and I was like, at first they didn't really register with me, like, oh, you're just like, what is it about? And he's like, well,
Okay.
it's Halloween, the movie, and I'm like, oh, cool, like, what is it? And it's like he showed me, the guy that I was working with, he showed it to me, and it was the masks, right? Like the
The
three
three
main
masks.
masks,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it also had like a skull on the other side or something like that. I don't remember what it was on the other side because they had already made the original Halloween tiki mug or whatever. It's just a jack o' lantern with
Hmm.
like Michael on the back, and I was like I don't get it. Like like isn't Michael supposed to be on there? Like what is these? It's like no, it's the one when it wasn't about Michael. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like they did that. And it's like yeah, it's like it's completely different. It has nothing to do with like Michael. And it's like the only one that's like that. I'm like that sounds cool. Like, I'll have to check it out. And I eventually finally went to go see it, and like, not went to see it, but I looked it up, and it
Hmm.
was on. Yeah, so that was pretty good. But that's funny that you mentioned that because it's like, yeah, because to a lot of people they're like amazing, but they're pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean,
I mean, just hard.
they're
I mean,
just typical. I mean, they're not even. I wouldn't say like typical slasher films because like I feel like Friday the 13th is more that. It's just about
mhm,
killing and like how inventive the kills are. And to me, that's not Halloween. Like
yeah,
they give Michael Myers this weird mythology, and it just goes fucking crazy places. Especially part five. Like part five, there's this mysterious man in black throughout the whole movie,
yeah,
and they don't explain it at all. So then when part six comes around, that's when they explain more about Michael and this weird tattoo he has, which has to do with the
right,
occult and
yeah, the
everything.
cult, yeah.
So, but I like part six too. So, uh, I think it's a lot more interesting than some of the other like horror franchises. But yeah.
Since we're on the topic of horror, I'm gonna jump over to films that people really enjoyed, but I just couldn't get into,
Hmm.
and I think they're considered horror. Two of them right now I'm going to say off the top of my out of my list is Hereditary
Okay.
and it comes at night, or is it They Come at Night, or it comes at
It comes at night. Yeah.
both of those. I had I barely started and I'm like this is so
Yeah.
boring. And I heard good things. I
Mm.
isn't What is the new movie that the guy who did Hereditary do? That just
Midsummer.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ari Aster.
yeah, Ari Aster, yeah. So it was made. They made a big deal about this movie, and you would know better because you did see the movie. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
love her. I mean, I don't love
Is it good?
Hereditary. I think it's a really good movie. I think I think it tries to be too many things at once. Like it's a
Uh,
possession movie. It's also like this. It's just too many things at once. But I
right.
still like the movie a lot.
So, and by contrast, I think I still went to go see Midsummer because
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Florence Pugh. I don't know how to say her last name, but she's the
Hmm.
lead in
Yeah.
that one. Um,
You like
and
Midsummer?
I found that I thought that was boring too. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's okay. It's not a bad. I'm not even saying like these movies are bad. I couldn't get into it. That's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say. What with Midsummer though, what I found most interesting is like I didn't really consider it to be a horror film. Like I know a little bit of the mythology and the folklore that happens with that kind of holiday or that event.
Yeah.
Like the people of flinging themselves off the cliffs because they're too old for the community to take care of them, right? So they kill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's in history that happens. A lot of the stuff that they do in that movie is just historical stuff, right? Like it's just basically
Hmm.
I got like Wicker Man vibes, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think
for sure, for sure.
but I still kind of like Wicker Man more, you know. And I'm talking like pre
I've
Nicolas
never
Cage,
seen the original.
but even the Nicolas Cage one is very entertaining, and but that wasn't really bad.
In all the wrong ways,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, and that's one of those movies where like in the theater it was so fucking bright, I felt very uncomfortable. For
Mhm.
some reason, like, oh my god, it's like people could see me squirming, or it's like it was so quiet. There's not a lot of sound, so it was just one of the. Honestly, if I would have seen that here at home, I probably would have stopped that movie too and just said like,
Mhm.
nah, I don't want to watch this anymore, and moved
Yeah.
on.
It took me a bit to see Midsummer. Like for being a horror fan, I'm kind of a horror fan. I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't see it in theaters, but I did wait
Hmm.
quite a bit to see it, and I finally caught it on Amazon Prime. Um, and yeah, I didn't love it. I actually liked Hereditary a bit more. Uh, but I still think it's interesting, and Ari Aster is an exciting filmmaker. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. Like
Continue
whenever I
on
see his name attached to something, I'll definitely be interested in watching it. So
for sure, for
he's
sure.
clearly tries to push buttons. Like
Yeah,
just make his movies are just shit that happens that really tries to disturb the viewer. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
always cool.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go next and I'll go with Mortal Kombat, which it kind of bugs me. Whenever
This is great,
somebody
by the way.
yeah, whenever people like talk about, oh, what's the best video game movie of all time, it's like it's not even a question. Like Mortal Kombat is it. Like
Yeah,
that's just it is what it is at this point. Yeah, I mean it's a terribly cheesy movie.
I love it.
Paul
Yeah,
W.S. Anderson who did like
yeah.
all the Resident Evil movies and stuff. He directed it, and yeah, I think the soundtrack's obviously awesome. Seeing that when I was younger, like everybody in the theater was excited to like see your
Totally.
favorite characters on screen, and I think a lot of the fights hold up. So this is one of the ones like there's a lot of cheesiness to it, but I still think it's genuinely good.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then, like, I feel like you can't. It's not one of those films where like the acting was bad because acting was actually pretty good. I mean, you had like a guy playing Shang Tsung. I already forgot his name. Terry. I don't know what his name
I
is.
don't know his name either, but he's like one of those character actors that pops up in a bunch of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. He's just
That
like
guy.
really into it. Yeah, he's really into it, but he's not like kind of like hamming it up. There's like everyone did like I think it did a good job for the most part. Um, yeah, I
I
kind of
think
forgot.
Christopher Lambert hammed it
Yeah,
up. I
that's
called
true.
him Christopher Hambert.
Christopher Hamburg. Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot. Yeah, no, you're right. He's in it. Definitely not an Asian dude. He's just a Scottish Highlander wannabe type who's dressed up like the what's his, I forgot the guy's name from like Little Big Trouble in Little China, which is what basically Raiden is.
Mhm.
The Storm guys. But I forgot that that movie didn't really rate well with or critics, I guess you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That is definitely a guilty pleasure movie.
Well, I
Uh,
always see like write-ups about like, oh, these are the best video game movies, and I mean, it definitely gets mentioned, but sometimes it doesn't. It's like there's
people,
been other good
people
attempts at
forget.
it. Like I think Silent Hill was a pretty good video game movie. That one kind of fell apart towards the end, but I
I think
think it's easily the best.
the cinematography for Silent Hill was actually really good. It was like spot on, like the game.
Yeah.
The visually was good. Um, since we're on this sort of topic right now, but right after this, you got to jump into something that you never finished. But
Okay.
another film that because you were talking about lists about video game lists that they don't mention it because people forget about it.
Mhm.
The same thing happens with comic book movies, where people forget that Howard the Duck, which is an '80s film, is based off of a comic book. And I
Mhm.
think that movie is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It has wow, I'm so bad right now because I can't remember any of their names, but it has
What,
the
Eugene Stevens? Is that his name?
I don't even know who that
I don't
is.
know his name.
No, 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 the woman who played Marty McFly's mom in Back to the Future films.
Yeah, she had her own sitcom.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say Thelma. It's not Thelma. Uh, damn, we should.
clearly, clearly did your research here, bad. I'm just kidding. I'm just
No, that's true
kidding.
though. It's just
I'll look
like,
it up though real fast just to get her name.
but I mean, this is during the heyday of her being like, like this kind of like sexy lead person.
Leah Thompson?
Yeah, Leah Thompson. That's it. Hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years.
Leah Thompson's in it, and Jeffrey Jones, who's another character actor.
Mhm.
Basically, Howard the Duck Jeffrey Jones plays a scientist.
Tim
Yeah,
Robbins in it as well.
that's funny. I don't even
Yeah,
remember that.
I don't remember him either.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones plays a scientist who's like messing around with some kind of, I don't know, contraption that ends up pulling Howard from his planet over to Earth, and at the
Hmm.
same time pulls a monster that kind of inhabits Jeffrey Jones. And obviously, throughout that whole thing, Howard the Duck is running around, and he meets Leah Thompson's character, and he's a very horny duck who wants to have sex with her. It's this very weird. It's totally 80s. This is like
Hmm.
it definitely like kind of just embodies what made 80s films awesome. And I think this is something that I wanted to get into further along as a different topic of what I miss about people making just kind of taking risks with
Yeah.
filmmaking. This obviously was based off of comic book property, and in the comics he's like a detective. He does so here he wasn't really any of that stuff. It's just a little dude in a duck suit running around learning about Earth and stuff. It's like the typical like when they made He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, same thing. Like they pull them to the Earth and they're running around doing stupid shit, learning like, oh my god, this is music or whatever. I'm gonna eat this. Um, but it's I mean like even right here it says 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. Actually, that's a lot higher than I expected it to be, higher
Yeah.
than I thought it would be. But yeah, a lot of people hate that movie. Even people in the comic book world, and when it comes to movies or comic book movies, they don't like it. I like it. He was actually they actually brought him back in Guardians of the Galaxy. He showed up as a side little character. I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, like he was in a cage that one of the characters had him,
I
and
recall that.
he ends up breaking out because of the explosion, and he just talks. And I think there was word that James Gunn actually did want to make a movie with
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Hearing
right.
rumblings
And I
about
think
that.
that's the reason why he put him in the film, just to get people excited for it. So, I mean, if it wasn't for the 80s film, I don't think people would still even know who he is. I
Uh-huh.
think he's still in comics. He pops up once in a while. But yeah, that's one of my guilty pleasures. I just like that movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I probably won't get into much detail here as far as like, since you're kind of mentioning throwing out a childhood film there, but I had a few here. Problem Child 1 and 2. I was a big fan of. I actually recorded them recently because like I
I
was
hate
going
those
through
movies.
HBO and checking out the guide, and so just recording stuff that like popped up that excited me. I'm like, I haven't seen a Problem Child film since I was a kid, so I recorded both of those. Short Circuit, good shit. Uh, I think that's why I was thinking Eugene's. I was when you brought up Howard the Duck, I was thinking
Uh-huh.
of the one white guy playing an Indian guy in that movie.
Now, that's not Eugene, though. I know who you're talking about. His Fisher, that's Fisher Stevens.
Fisher Stevens, yeah,
Yeah.
not
And
Eugene.
Michael McKean. Michael McKean was in the second film. My bad.
Mm. And then Homeward Bound, which I love. I think Homeward Bound is just a good movie.
It is.
That,
That is a good movie. Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a feel good talking animal movie. It's
Yeah.
really good.
And this is during the time where they didn't actually animate the mouths. They're just talking. Like the
Yeah,
camera's on the animal and
it's not
it's a real
creepy. You
animal.
just you just need to hear the voiceover, and that's
Yeah.
good enough.
And
It's
it
definitely
worked.
a time when they would do shady shit to animals, though,
Unfortunately,
during
yeah.
the making of movies.
You don't realize the stuff that was happening until like people started saying like we got to protect these animals.
Yeah,
But all
there
right,
was Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, no, go ahead. Because I was gonna say you have to shift over to something you didn't finish.
I didn't finish. So like, this is not like a good movie, I guess. So like, I was gonna propose this to you. Uh, there's only been two. There's only been two times I went to a movie theater and I walked out.
Okay.
So these are the two times. One was Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie, and I like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I think it's a pretty good show. I didn't get like deep into it, but that movie, it was just so bad. I'm like, this is not funny at all. Um,
Uh-huh.
that was back when I was working at the movie theater, so I don't know if I got it for free. That's probably why I just kind of walked out. But I left that movie before it was over. And then Tragedy Girls, which not many people are gonna know about it. It's a horror film that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I recently
I
saw it.
went to the theater to see that. It's about these two girls who were like going around killing people because they're trying to like promote this on social media to get like a social media presence for
Yeah.
being killers, I guess. But it
Or
was
promote their
terrible.
blog, right? Like the fact that they're actually reporting about the murders, so
Yeah,
they're
and
creating the
so
news that they're reporting.
yeah, and it's just like the girls are really unlikable. And the movie's trying to play like this horror or this comedic aspect, and I didn't think it was very funny, so like I just left. Like half hour, and I've never tried
That's
watching it
funny.
again. So
I actually did finish that movie. It was all right.
yeah,
Yeah, but ultimately, it felt like one of those movies that just become video on demand films for some reason.
yeah.
It just didn't feel like it had enough. But I've told you this before. I'm gonna name off a couple of them. I'm not gonna go through all of them like
Mhm.
in detail, but they're all like very. I guess they were kind of acclaimed independent films. Not independent films, but they're just like not as broadly distributed. Maybe
Okay.
Her Smell with Elizabeth Moss, which was based off like this aging rocker, punk
Hmm.
rocker, and her kid, and just like her life. It's just kind of twisted around instead of like usual camera or the usual lens on the male musician with fucking up his life, right? It's like it's very
Yeah.
typical you see that, but except this time it's a woman. But the way it starts out, it's like all the characters. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Uh, I'm not gonna. I mean, I didn't finish it, so I can't give anything away. There's not much to give away, I don't really think. But
Yeah.
it just starts out with them doing a show, and like all the characters are incredibly unlikable. Like all the other bandmates.
Hmm.
Her ex-husband's there, and he's kind of a dick, and she's trying to perform like kind of like a weird satanic ritual with her baby, and I was just like, oh, like how could you like this person? Like I don't understand why I want to continue watching this. This is too much. I can't see it. So I never finished it. And then
Hmm.
pairing that up with, I think this was a Coen Brothers film. It's called Inside Llewyn Davis. With
Yeah, I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's with
People tell
Oscar
me I
Isaac.
need to, but yeah.
They said this was a really good movie. I thought it was so slow, so boring. Like I get it,
Hmm.
it's like the day in the life of this guy, this musician in New York, just kind of hanging out, visiting his friends.
Hmm.
Kind of like a more of a Jim Jarmusch vibe. Like he's another guy whose a lot of his films are kind of hit or miss in terms of whether I want to sit down and finish them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started it. I'm a big fan of like black and white films. And this film, Inside Llewyn Davis, is a black and white film.
Okay.
Um, Frances Ha, which is with Greta Gerwig, also a black and white film.
You better not. I mean, are you talking good about Francis? How are you going to talk some shit?
I didn't finish it. I thought it was stupid.
That was my favorite movie the year it came out. The movie's
Really?
incredible. Yeah.
This is good. Yeah, because now you can like I'm not blasting it. I thought it was kind of stupid. I get people that are like that. I've been in love with Greta Gerwig since she was in Baghead. I mean,
Hmm.
fucking mumblecore days, like old school indie stuff with the Duplass
Yeah.
brothers. And so she's one of the few people where I'm like kind of like not objective. Like I'm just like, oh, she's in it. She's gorgeous. I'm in love with her. I'll see it. But
Yeah.
I thought her character's kind of annoying, but it's not at the same time like horrible like the character like in Her Smell. That's just like a horrible person.
Yeah.
It's just a hipster movie, and
It's definitely a hipster movie for
as much
sure.
as like to call myself a hipster, it's like I don't like that type of hipster.
Yeah.
And I own the movie. Like I bought it because it's like, oh, Greta Gerwig's in this,
Yeah.
$5,
Yeah.
I'm sold. And then I was just like, this is stupid. I don't want to see
I
this
guess
anymore.
I didn't get into like that older stuff, like the mumblecore stuff that you're saying, because that was my first kind of exposure to Greta Gerwig was Frances Ha. And like I just found out recently. I mean, I guess I should have known this then. Noah Baumbach directed that movie, right?
Yep.
And like this past year after Marriage Story, I did go back and watch some of his movies, and I'm mixed on his like filmography.
Yeah.
But yeah, Francis Ha, I understand how it's hipstery. I really like Adam Driver in that. I really love Greta Gerwig, and yeah, she's definitely like,
He's in that movie? I didn't
yeah, he's
remember.
like the cool fucking roommate that she's living with. Because like I just like Greta's character and how
Yeah, yeah.
she's just like, yeah, she's bouncing around. She's kind of living off the goodwill of other people. But by the end, she kind of figures it out and finds direction in life. And so I really like her character arc in it.
I
But
will
yeah,
say something you might want to check out is I think it's called Miss America. I think that's what it's called. Have you seen
Mistress
that one?
America, I saw that one.
Yeah, I like that
I didn't care
with her.
for it.
Yeah, I
I
just
mean,
thought
I
it
was
was
excited
more.
because that was like right after Francis Ha.
It's different. It's
Yeah.
definitely a completely different tone, but yeah, no, that's funny. Um, I will mention this other one too, just because I know you love it. since we're on the topic of movies that you love that I hate, Annihilation.
Yeah.
I did end up finishing that movie, but in the beginning when that came out, I just couldn't finish it. I was like, this is so slow. I thought this would be awesome. I thought something really cool shit was gonna happen. I mean, and ultimately, it took me. I watched it a couple times because I really wanted to get into it, and I did like it. It's really cool. I like it. I don't know. I think I might like it a little more than Ex Machina. I just
Oh, wow.
because of the stuff that happens in it. It's just it's definitely. I might have been not in a good mood during that time, or I thought maybe because I had higher expectations of it, because I thought it was a completely different film. And once I got rid of that and shook that off, I was like, let me really watch it because I need to see what everyone's talking about. And no, I think it's an awesome movie. And I know haven't said this to you because I think it's funny that you bringing that up, but I was like, he doesn't know, but I actually do like that movie. There's still parts of it that I don't like the whole Oscar Isaac guy coming back. It's like the whole beginning, or like the whole subplot of her cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought all that stuff, and I still think all that stuff makes that movie slog. Like I don't really care. Like I get it's part of her motivation as to why
Yeah.
she's going out there and stuff, but I just like this is kind of boring to me. So, yeah.
Okay. So I know it's been a while, but I'm gonna go back to Fisher Stevens. One of my favorite guilty pleasures is Hackers. I fucking love Hackers.
He's in
Seen
that.
it? What?
He's in that.
Yeah, he's like the main antagonist who creates
Oh
the
wow.
virus to try to blackmail them.
I don't think I did see it.
You've never seen
I know
Hackers?
I know it's a classic
Oh
film.
my God, you need to see
Angelina
Hackers. It's
Jolie,
fucking
Simon, what's
terrible.
his name?
It's
Yeah,
incredible though. Which
Matthew.
little side story on Hackers. The other day I had a dream. Well, yesterday I had a dream of Matthew Lillard. You know Matthew Lillard. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in Scream and Wicker Park. I don't know why I mentioned
He
Wicker
was in Wicker
Park.
Park.
No one remembers. Yeah, he was Josh Hartnett's friend in that film. But yeah, I had a dream like I was at some weird event. It was like a sporting event because I remember Joe Buck. You know who Joe Buck is? He's like a pretty famous like broadcaster. Like
Yeah, it's just familiar.
so he was there and there was a bunch of other celebrities there and I couldn't really I couldn't recognize who was who. Like I couldn't remember people's names. But I remembered one person, but I typically don't remember my dreams. But yeah, so I'm just standing there and someone taps me on my shoulder and I turn around, it's fucking Matthew Lillard. And he's dressed like he dresses like back in the day, like or like in Hackers, like he has really loose clothes, like
Yeah, the 90s guy.
oversized clothing on. He has like because he has like not dreads in that, but he has like braided hair, long hair. And so I get so excited and like I jump into his arm and he catches me. And I'm just like talking to him and saying like, "Hey man, can I get a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah, you get a picture." He's like, "Do you want like a video or anything too?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll have both." And then I woke up. Anyway, Hackers. I don't know why I went on that side tangent. It was a really cool dream. It made me happy. But Hackers is just awesome. It has so many cool characters. The soundtrack's fucking amazing. A lot of like Underworld and like
Classic.
I don't know the like techno and stuff. You know like Moby,
Techno stuff. Yeah.
Prodigy.
Prodigy.
Things
Yeah.
like that. Really good soundtracks. But it's a really good movie. It's nice, cheesy, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like just terribly horrible.
Hack the planet.
Cyber webs, hack the planet, mess with the best, die like the rest. Yeah, it's so. You need to see Hackers.
You need to see that movie. There's sometimes where like some films have gotten so much hype, or they've hit that cult status that it's almost like I'm afraid to touch it because it's like I missed out on it because it was around the time that I was it came out when I was young. I had all the time in the world to see it and I never did. So it's kind of one of those things where like should I still go back to do it? And I never did. Really quick, I do want to mention just because Matthew Lillard, he's still like he still does a lot of good acting, smaller roles. What's that?
I think I know what you're gonna mention.
Well, I'm just gonna say Descendants. He was in The Descendants.
Oh, okay.
And he was in something else. What are you talking about? Because I think something else.
I don't know. I was gonna mention SLC Punk, which I finally saw.
Oh yeah, that's an older one. Yeah.
I didn't like it that much, but I saw it finally.
That's a classic. Film. I also didn't. I never finished that movie either.
Mm-hmm.
He's also. This is a completely weird side note. I only know this because of when I used to work at Nerdist. But he's also a very big D&D player. Like
Okay.
he hosts them and he like does the shows with them and he actually shows up when they do
Uh,
celebrity ones. He's like a big player in that whole arena. Um, but going back to films that are so old that I thought I would never go back to, and because I missed that whole hype train.
hmm
Wet Wet Hot American Summer
Okay.
is a cult classic. Also was panned by critics and most people don't like it. It's kind of it's like those things, like there's always going to be a group of people that really love some of these films,
Yeah.
and I became one of that. Wet Hot American Summer. I think you said you didn't see it. You haven't seen that one,
I
right?
didn't. No, I didn't see it initially. Like I saw it maybe 3 or 4 years ago finally because I
Mm,
knew like the series was coming out.
yeah, yeah.
So I saw the movie and it was awesome. It was hilarious.
that, yeah, I'm mad at myself because I missed out on all these memes and stuff that happened because of it, or like the quotes. I
hmm
introduced it to my sister. She absolutely loved it, and she doesn't normally like she watches most of the stuff, but she's more into horror and drama stuff. But
Yeah.
we both love it. Most of David Wayne films, I think that his name is David. I know his last name is Wayne. I think it's David Wayne. Um, they're not that good, but they are funny.
Uh-huh.
He also did like Wanderlust, which was another one with God damn, what's that dude's name? Like
What else is he in?
he was a I Love You Man. Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd.
Okay. Yeah.
It's Paul Rudd and Jennifer Aniston, who are New Yorkers, and they decide to they lose their jobs because of whatever reason they have to move to his brother's house, and then they end up on this hostel or like bed and breakfast run by hippies, a commune.
hmm
Justin Theroux's in it. Anyway, it's I have that movie too. It's pretty bad. It's really bad. It's just stupid. But the other one that I like that they're into, I think this one did better. It's called They Came Together, and it's also a David Wayne film, and
Okay.
it's with Paul Rudd, and it's also with Amy Poehler. But it's just
Yeah.
more of like a gag type movie. Just like stupid shit happens. Like Michael Ian Black. You know Michael Ian Black, right? You know
Yeah,
him?
I remember him from I Love the 80s and
Yeah,
I Love
yeah,
the 90s stuff.
yeah.
I know
So
he's done other things, but that's what comes to mind when I
there's
think of
this
Michael Ian Black.
there's this scene in the film for They Came Together. This is how like stupid it is.
hmm
He comes into the office because he works with Paul Rudd's character, and he's like, "Hey, I hear you're working on the Dick Ricker account." And I got these stupid names. He's like,
hmm
"Yes, better be ready or whatever." And he's like, and then he goes into this bowl like a candy dish, and it's filled with open condoms. Like they're not used; they're just open. He grabs one, and
uh
he goes like this, and he's like, "Hey, is your girlfriend home?" It's like, yeah, I think so. I was like, okay. And then it's like Paul Rudd's character is like oblivious to what that means. Like the
Yeah,
fact that he
yeah,
grabbed the condom when he's asking if his girlfriend's home. It's so stupid, but it's like it's you have to see it just because it's insane.
yeah.
It's just
It was on TV the other day when I was like flicking through the channels, but I saw like the towards the end.
yeah, no,
I
I
guess when
love
they
that.
were like coming together and making up, and then like
Yeah.
people kept
Um,
coming and like
Michael Shannon shows up.
professing their love. Yeah, Michael Shannon showed up. I'm like, this is weird.
He just shows up at the end and he's like, I fucking love you, bitch. I fucking loved you, bitch. And then he gets taken away by the cops, and then he gets shot in the background. Just like nobody. It's just yeah, it's too much. But that's why I love it. Um,
hmm
Go ahead. While I collect my thoughts.
So I was going to get into some more guilty pleasures. I'm kind of a big fan of musical. We've talked about La La Land
Yeah, yeah.
on here
Hmm.
before. So I'm a huge Grease fan. Love that. And I'm also like a really big Chicago fan. And I know these are like musicals that are beloved, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like I was working at the movie theater when Chicago came out, and I saw it like 4 times in theaters. And I remember that I'm big into like the Academy Awards. I like even though the Oscars tend to let me down as
Yeah.
far as like who wins. That year I was cheering for Chicago, which was
Hmm.
up against Lord of the Rings: Two Towers that year, and I was happy that it won Best Picture. So yeah, Chicago's great. Greece is great. Great music.
No,
So
I
I'm not
agree.
really too guilty, but I
I'm
like
almost a
musicals.
little. I know. I was about to say like almost a little ashamed to say, but no, I loved Chicago. I think
hmm
it's one of the first musicals that I admitted to you know what, I kind of like musicals. Like no,
Yeah.
it's not, they're not bad. Um, just a side story tangent. I remember once, I think I was coming. Either I was in town or I think I was just hanging out with my buddy. We used to work together, so we would try to get back, hang out in Chicago.
Hmm.
Um, to meet up because he had already left work. So we would once in a while get together, get some drinks, and then go watch a movie or something like that. I remember I said, let's go see this movie. He had no idea what we were seeing. I knew what it was. It was the producers.
Okay.
And we go to see it, and he's like your typical macho Mexican guy, really big, stocky, like he'll like smash a car with his bare hands. And he didn't know what we were getting into. And I mean, I wasn't trying to trick him. I told him, like, this movie looks really funny. Like, you should go see it.
Hmm.
I kind of left out that it was a musical.
Probably should have mentioned that, but yeah.
And when we watch it, we sit there and he's like laughing, but he's just like the whole time. And he's like, after we lay it out, he's like, motherfucker, don't ever take me to another musical. I'm like, you laughed. I'm like, you laughed. He's like, I don't give a shit. I don't want to see that stuff again. I was like, but it's funny because I get it. Like, it's for some people, it's hard to admit. I know there has been a lot of newer films that musical wise that I've been into. Like I really love La La Land, and I feel like it's almost like barely a musical, right? Because there's not like a ton of songs like other films
Yeah,
have.
it really starts off like musical heavy, and I think it
Yeah,
loses its way, but I don't care because I like the
yeah,
story so much.
exactly. So
But yeah,
in that regard, I think it's that's why I love it. So
yeah, I think you're up.
yeah, I was gonna say, and another couple of them, these are pretty bad too. Like I really liked Grandma's Boy. Grandma's Boy is like a pretty bad. Like it's
Hmm.
made by Adam Sandler's production company. I think
Yeah,
or
Happy Madison. Yeah.
So it has a lot of the same reoccurring actors that you see in a lot of his films. It's a stupid movie. It takes place in LA. That's why I kind of like it, but
Hmm.
it's ridiculous. It has like these older women who are in the film, obviously, who play the lead characters, Andrew something's roommates. But there's a lot of stupid stuff in there that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's all these side or these actors that were like
Jonah
side
Hill's in it.
characters in Adam Sandler's movies, and then they finally got like a movie of their own, which was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I
yeah,
finally
yeah.
watched it like a
I was
few
gonna
weeks
say you
ago.
just watched it, yeah, recently, so
Yeah,
it's
I didn't
fresh.
like it, which is I didn't hate it. It's just like I think I did have on here Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison
Yeah, yeah, and I
and
was
Ace
gonna too.
Ventura as well. Uh, and so I mean those are movies I saw when I was younger. So I'm sure if like I saw Grandma's Boy when it came out, I probably would have more appreciation for
Yeah,
it.
it's definitely that
I've
type
also
of
never
film.
been a stoner either, so
I know, and I was gonna say it's definitely a stoner comedy.
yeah.
Um, on top of that, I was gonna add the Broken Lizard films.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know Broken Lizard. They did
I've
the
never seen Super Troopers.
Super Troopers, yeah. So Super
Yeah.
Troopers, I love Super Troopers. Second one was also funny, not as funny, of course, but they also
Hmm.
did other movies like Beer Fest. Beer Fest is really fucking stupid, but I like it.
Yeah.
Club Dread is like probably one of my favorite pseudo horror films. It's just so
Yeah.
ridiculous. And Slam and Salmon that actually had for some reason had Michael Clark Duncan as the lead
Okay.
guy.
Rest
He's
in
like this.
peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. He's in a boxer that started his own restaurant and has like the cast of characters running his restaurant. And
Okay.
he basically like the whole point of that movie is that he he's like in debt to some Japanese person that he bet with, and he's like whoever gets like the most money or tips and stuff like that will get like $10,000 from what if you keep bringing in like business and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like basically all the waiters, the whole staff is trying to fight to get like the most tips and stuff like that. It all takes place in the restaurant, but I
Okay.
still think it's really really funny. Um,
Yeah. Maybe I'll make it a point to see those films because yeah, like, I haven't seen any of them. I I recall being interested, but I just never
yeah,
got
yeah,
around to them. But
it's
definitely
something.
Super Troopers and Beer Fest I'm interested in. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The only other mention because we were talking about Happy Madison, Pixels. It's not something that I movie that I watch a lot, but I like it because it has video game stuff in it. It is a pretty stupid movie. It has Kevin James, Adam Sandler, Peter Dinklage. It's stupid, but I love it because it has fucking Pac-Man, man, and all these Galaga and all that shit. It's awesome.
I'm not
It,
I'm not I'm not taking your recommendation here. I'm sorry. I'm staying away
you're
from
never
that
gonna see
one.
that one. Yeah. And then the last thing I have for just guilty pleasure, since I just want to get through the last one of this, is a
Sure.
lot of Elvis movies, a lot of Elvis films, like the early '60s stuff.
Okay.
Uh, they were never. I mean, most people say that they're not good. I think they are,
Mhm.
mostly because like all the music he made during those films, like for a period, the only music he ever made was for these films, and the music was terrible. At least that's what they said. I personally still like a lot of the songs. One of my favorites is Blue Hawaii. Blue Hawaii is kind of like what really got me into going to Hawaii and being into the whole tiki thing. It had
Okay.
a really good vibe. I think his acting's not bad. And I've since gotten into more Elvis films, which kind of surprised a lot of people. My parents too. They're like, "What the fuck? You watching Elvis movies?" Like, because they also have access to my iTunes, and
Okay.
so they're like, What's up with this Elvis stuff?" I'm like, "Watch it. It's there." I mean, it's so funny when they talk to me and they're like, "Hey, I ended up watching that one movie you got. Like, it's a French movie. The guy never talks, but it's funny." And I'm like, I'm just so happy that my parents are actually, branching out and trying something. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's as far as my guilty pleasures go.
I have one, I guess one last thing, kind of like a slew. Oh no, two more things. So the Jackass movies, I love them. I've never laughed more in a
Never
theater.
finished them.
Love the Jackass movies, and like I think like people, which I understand, people pigeonhole it as like this, just these immature drunks like just hanging out. But I just think like I think the crew of characters, it's just like they had such great chemistry, and I think that they're creative as far as like the things they come up with to do.
For
Like
sure, for
there's a
sure.
level of creativity there, and I've
Yeah,
met like that and Borat. Like I've never laughed more like in movie
Borat's
theaters.
funny. Yeah,
And Borat's just a good movie.
yeah.
I'm trying to convince Christina to watch it, and she keeps saying no. I'm like, you'll really like it. Like Borat is a smart, like hilarious film.
Yeah.
Um, so that, and then kind of like as a teenager, all of a bunch of movies from that day. So like the teen comedies, Can't Hardly Wait's one of my favorite.
Hmm.
10 Things I Hate About You. Uh, I also like the cheesy sports movies like
Oh,
Varsity
really?
Blues.
I've never seen
Uh,
it.
remember The Faculty, but The Faculty is just a good horror movie.
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez directed that. So like just stuff from that day and age. Cruel
Yeah.
Intentions was another one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Disturbing Behavior. Now they're all like popping into my head
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
owned all the VHSs.
Well, we
But
were at
like,
Final Destination.
yeah, yeah.
And this is
So
why I
that
tell you, like, I want to do an episode on the '90s, or just like growing up in the '90s and stuff we missed.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's funny you mentioned those in particular. What was the first set of that? Jackass. Going back really quick to Jackass.
Yeah.
Really quick story about that. I don't know if people who know this, but
Mhm.
like Johnny Knoxville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to be an actor so bad, would not be cast in anything.
Mhm.
Nobody thought he was good in anything. So that's why he started Jackass. Like he just started filming himself doing stupid shit and putting it up online, or not
Uh-huh.
online, just filming. When that came out, there wasn't even DVDs really. I think there was just like tapes and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of cool how they just basically created a job for themselves in a way. And it's like, oh, nobody wants to put me in a movie. I'm gonna make my own movie and then
Yeah.
do this crazy shit. I mean, he's still not like an amazing actor, but I mean, I saw Action Point. I thought that was kind of funny.
I haven't seen that yet. I've always wanted to, but yeah.
But yeah, yeah, no, I thought it was just interesting. I was really sad about everybody else who's gone through a lot of shit from those.
Yeah, sad with Bam. Ryan Dunn, passed away years ago,
Yeah.
drunk driving. I've actually today I listened to Steve-O has a new podcast because everybody's making a podcast, including us,
Uh,
during this quarantine. So it was a pretty good episode. He had Wee Man on. But yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy that those guys like still kind of stayed relevant all these years later. I understand a
yeah.
lot of them aren't working now, but like it seems like they all figured out a way to like be successful long term. I actually met back when I worked at the movie theater when they showed, I believe it might have been the third Jackass. I still have the poster, but yeah, we had a screening for it there, and Johnny Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine, the director, came to our theater and like came to our office and just like hung out with us for like 15 minutes before they had to come out.
That's
So like we
awesome.
got a picture of them and they signed our posters and everything. So
That's super
yeah,
cool.
super cool dudes. It was really fun meeting them. So yeah.
And basically to cap off the other films that I have on there that I couldn't remember that I could remember of that I didn't finish.
Mm-hmm.
because I just couldn't get into them. Or Phantom Thread, which is like a big Oscar contender when it came out with Daniel
I
Day-Lewis.
love that movie.
I have to finish it. I'm gonna go back to see it. I have it
You
because
should. You would like it.
Black Klansman is another movie
Mm,
that I think I started watching and then I was just like, and I
yeah.
stopped. I feel like I felt like I would totally love that movie. I just kind of just stopped watching it.
Okay.
Birdman, if you remember that movie.
Yeah, I saw it.
Also didn't really get that far into it. I think all the memes and the hype threw me off that I just didn't
Uh,
want to finish watching it. Widows turned out to be a very fucking boring movie. I thought it'd be a lot more action.
I really like Widows. You're wrong.
No, I wanted
What are these
to.
movies like? Okay, Phantom
I
Thread
told
is
you.
totally up your alley as far as I
I
think
know.
it is.
I hope.
What was the other one you mentioned after Black Klansman?
Widows. Birdman.
No.
Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman's
No, I know.
totally up your alley
That's the
too.
reason why I own these movies. I
Mm.
just couldn't finish them.
So Widows, you never finished it, or you
No,
just
never.
didn't like it?
Yeah, I thought it was boring.
Yeah. I mean, it's an elevated action movies. I think it like showcases Chicago in a like a pretty unique way. It's
Yeah.
the guy who directed 12 Years a Slave, uh,
Okay.
and Shame.
Hmm.
Steve McQueen, I believe is his
Oh
name.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, Steve McQueen.
Uh,
Yeah, he's a good director. I mean, I
yeah.
usually like his stuff, but it's just like one of those things where like I thought it was going to be more like, say, like remember when The Kitchen came out with um, Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Moss. I
Hmm.
forgot the other chick's name. It was a little bit more action oriented. It took place,
Okay.
but Anna and the Apocalypse, which is a musical, a zombie apocalypse
I've
musical.
heard of it, no, but you
I
said
thought it was
Anna and Apocalypse, right?
Anna
Hmm.
and the Apocalypse. Also, thought it was, I don't know, I just thought it was stupid. I'm like, one or the I get it. Everyone loves it because it's mashing up, zombie horror with a musical. But I was just like, no, I didn't like
Did you
this.
ever see Repo, the Genetic Opera?
Also, did not finish.
It's not a good movie.
It's not a
But I
good movie.
remember that movie, and because like that was back in a time where I felt anyway, where like horror movies, unless they were like some big franchise like Saw or something,
Yeah,
wasn't getting respect and wasn't getting like proper theatrical releases. So yeah, that movie and Trick or Treat, I was really behind like getting a theatrical release. I don't think, I mean, they both played like screenings or like midnight shows and stuff, but they never
yeah.
actually had like a wide release in theaters. But
I wanted to like it.
not a
I
great
just thought
movie. It's a horror movie mixed with like
sonically
rock
was
and roll
gross.
music. Uh, it's got Giles from Buffy the Vampire
Yeah,
Slayer.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like
So, yeah.
what do you call that movie? Sucker Punch. It kind of like it's just. I did finish Sucker Punch, but I don't really remember it all that much. You
Mhm.
remember that one, Sucker Punch?
Yeah. What's his name? Zack Snyder.
Snyder. Yeah, Snyder. Yeah.
Very pretty movie, and Oscar Isaac stands out because Oscar Isaac always stands out. He's
Yeah, everything
fantastic.
he does. Um,
Good movie.
the last one I have on my list is Eighth Grade.
Yeah, good movie.
That's what I hear.
Really good movie.
I don't know. Maybe because I don't like the guy that who made it is just some fucking YouTube influencer that I
You
had
don't like
already
Bo
had.
Burnham?
No, I
He's
fucking
great.
hate. I
You don't like
hate
his
YouTube.
stand-up?
I don't like YouTube people. I don't like influencers. Any of that stuff. I can't get behind any of that
He's
stuff.
not an influencer. He's a stand-up comedian that got
He,
started on
he
YouTube.
started on YouTube, and that's
That's
what makes him
fine.
an
What's wrong
influencer.
with YouTubers?
I just get a job. I say that as I
Tell
know
me
a
how
lot.
you really feel.
I say I know a lot of people that I've worked with that do make a living off of being influencers or just being on social media. But whatever. That's my list of stuff that I'd never finished. I know there's things there that I do need to finish, like we just talked about. I will go back to them, but versus what I've seen or see way too much of, I'll probably continue seeing those movies and
Uh-huh.
eventually get to the other stuff.
Yeah, I wish I had more in terms of that. I don't really have anything left in regards to stuff.
John Wick 2, I never finished John Wick 2.
I haven't seen the John Wick films. I do want to go back because like I don't know if we talked about it on a previous episode or maybe we just had a conversation offline because I didn't mention that I watched Extraction or maybe I did talk about it.
No, you did. We talked about saying that you were gonna watch it, and I think we
Yeah.
talked about that you finally watched it on the morning show. You mentioned it.
Okay.
Excuse
But
me.
yeah, so like I want to watch John Wick because like like, Extraction is getting shit because it's like overly violent, and people are like, well, why don't they say that about like John Wick? But like John Wick it's set in like not a more playful universe, but it's like
It's more hyper
that's kind of the
stylized.
point of it. Like,
Hyper stylized for sure.
yeah. Whereas Extraction seemed much more serious, so the violence bugged me. Like, not that it was like excessively violent, there were just a lot of people dying. Uh,
I didn't
but
really
I
find it
really
excessive.
what happened?
I didn't really find it excessive. I liked it. I thought,
I
but
think
I
it was
liked it.
gory, but
I
like
liked it. Oh no,
after
this.
the 200th guy got his head shot, I'm like, I think I'm done seeing people get shot in the head today.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like when I was looking at it, I was like, this is what it seems like. That's what it would be like. That's what real war would happen. And I like the fight scenes. I thought the fight scenes were really well done.
Mhm.
Um, like there were some really good shots there. Like when if you guys ever watched a movie, it's an Extractions with Chris Hemsworth. It's on Netflix. It was it was like kind of made a big deal, right? Because it was a
One of the
movie.
hottest like movies right now, for
Yeah,
sure.
because I think the Russo brothers were also behind it.
Yeah.
A lot of people who worked on like a lot of the original Marvel films are in it, so you could kind of see a lot of that action from like like the Marvel films, kind of permeate into this. But like you said, it's a little bit more graphic. I think I like that stuff only in the sense, not because I'm just like I'm a sadist, like I want to see people get fucking killed like that. I just think
Yeah.
like that seems believable. Like that's how somebody would die. Like that's fucked up because it was
Yeah.
just like that. Like there's no like, oh, Rambo gets shot 350 times and he's still walking. Like no, boom. You didn't realize like you just took out 3 guys and you just got shot in the head. That's it. Fuck,
Hmm.
that's life.
You get fucking shot in the head and you're done.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that's our guilty pleasures. Feel free to let us know what some of your guilty pleasures are. What are some films that were hot that you just couldn't finish, couldn't get behind? Let us know on social media, or, like on Instagram, or send us an email. We'd love to know because if you guys send us information, we'll definitely read them over and just, right? Like, why not? Like this
For
person,
sure. Yeah.
they hated this movie or they love this movie. That sounds good. Is there anything else you want to add before we close this one off?
Absolutely nothing. No, it was fun. It was a fun one.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is why. It's like kind of like cathartic. We're letting us like, yeah, this movie. We're ashamed of this movie or not. Did we never?
Movies just excite me. It's just
Yeah, I love watching
it came
film.
out.
For the most part, there's times where I'll watch anything, and I'll sit here and watch a lot of shit.
Hmm.
And some stuff it just doesn't click with me. And a lot of times I think it's due to mood, right? Like it's like, were you in that mood to see that movie? Is that why you just never finished it? And I think that's the case of like, for me, Phantom Thread. That's the reason why I never finished it because I know it's a good movie. It seems
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. A lot of those movies you rattled off, I had seen in theaters. That's why it's like probably would have been harder for me to watch them at home.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, and that's also another thing too, is like I kind of wish I did see it in theaters because I feel like I
Mhm.
get more out of it. Not that I say like I'm not going to enjoy it here, but like we've talked about this in the past before. It's like you have too many distractions. We're always on our phone. I'm
Mhm.
basically on my phone and my Nintendo Switch as I'm watching stuff. So yeah, it's just the nature of the beast, especially now when we're in quarantine. That's all we have.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. Rate us, talk to us, let us know what's going on in your life. Um,
Please.
somebody out there,
I'm
somebody's
kidding.
listening, right?
I mean, I've been looking. Well, let's not get into the numbers. I've been looking at the numbers. I'm not sure how reliable FeedBurner is, but it's higher than any podcast I've ever done. So
Oh, I didn't realize we
hopefully,
could do that, but that's awesome for
like
whoever's
I said, I
listening.
don't know if the numbers, if it's just a bunch of bots, a bunch of robots listening to us.
If the
But yeah,
robots are listening, that's awesome too. We love technology.
they're always listening anyway. So
That's true. Um, but yeah, I feel like that's I covered everything, right?
yeah, you're good. We're good.
Once again, thanks for watching. As always, keep playing, keep watching, and keep doing what you're doing. Just
Yeah.
do more of it. See ya. You didn't say goodbye like you normally do.
Bye.
Just get
What's
in.
happening? Are we doing this?
Oh, yeah.
We're professional, right?